I was given exactly 15 minutes to try and convince you why not to use Agentic AI. And that's exactly what I'm going to do, hopefully. Now, the purpose of this is for discussion. It's for disruption. It's to make you think. It's to make you question. We've heard a lot of conversations so far today about all the reasons why you should be leaning into AI. I'm going to give you some reasons why you shouldn't. And that's absolutely not what I was asked to do, which is why it's important to understand that this is not an IBM presentation. This is my personal views. And it's an uncomfortable conversation to have because most people are thinking that, hey, it's AI, right? Like, why not? Let's use it. Well, if we look at some of the data that just came out this year, what we're seeing is the number of reported AI incidents as it relates to bias and ethics and governance have been spiking. Now, if you look at the timeline, it shouldn't be a surprise. And I'm going to give you some milestones here. So we introduced generative adversarial networks, which were the first ones that allowed businesses to actually do things with AI in a less supervised way. That was back in 2014, and you can see right after that there was an up curve. The paper that introduced the concept of transformer models, which gave birth to everything else we're doing, was released in 2017. And in 2020 is when GPT hit the market. And after that, things took off. Now, does that mean that AI is bad? No. Does it mean that generative is bad? Absolutely not. It means we have to be careful with what we do, how we do it, and why. So, the first thing we need to address is the elephant in the room. Everybody is using AI for everything, and everybody thinks that their idea is the best idea ever. But let me give you some news here. Novelty is still novel. That's a thing. It takes a human to decide what to do, when to do it, how to do it. Because ultimately, remember, the end product for all of this is directed towards a human. So if it starts with a human and it ends with a human and you use an AI in the middle, it's better than trying to let an AI do everything for you. But that's not the reality. The reality is that everybody wants AI for absolutely everything. Now, you may notice some gaffes every now and then. I leave those in as a reminder to everybody, myself included, that AI isn't perfect. But we still like it because it would take me 3 years to build something that even remotely looked like this if I had a pen and paper. But everybody's trying to fit AI into everything. And they're trying to look for all these different use cases. And all of the professionals that work in the industry are left feeling a kind of way about it. Because they have all of the industry expertise they need, but they don't really understand a lot about AI. And they're left feeling kind of helpless. In fact, so helpless that all of these different projects that they're being given, they're trying to solve with AI, and everything looks like a nail when you're holding a hammer. Now that's a pretty good analogy for what's happening right now, right? But what I want to talk about is something a little bit scarier right now. How many people in the room, show of hands, use AI? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so then you guys should be fine with this image, right? I mean, it's an app. You put a direction in it, you put a destination, you hit start. All of the responsibility, all the governance is in the car. So the driver doesn't need to drive. They don't even need to know the road rules because they're not actually operating the vehicle. They're operating an app, and the vehicle is doing the rest. But yet we're not okay with this. So we say that a kid should not operate an autonomous car without a license, but we're deploying AI full speed ahead in all of our businesses for absolutely everything. And most of us don't understand it. Double standard, maybe? Just asking. So think about that. Now, I experiment with AI myself, and I've written MatGPT, which is not based on ChatGPT. It's just a catchy name that I used. I wrote it from scratch with AI assistants to help me with some of the debugging and some of the features. And it kept getting things wrong. So I asked it why it was getting things wrong. And in particular, I had it call out the number of times it found the problem before actually finding the problem. 3 times. So what does this tell us? As good as AI is, it's not great at everything, and it needs a lot of human help. We need to remember that. Humans will always need to be in the loop, either from the inspiration, the end point, or something in the middle. And I'm going to make that point right now. So I'm going to ask you to engage a piece of machinery that we all have at home, at least I hope, and we all have in our families. Now, this piece of machinery runs at 1 exaflop. It uses significantly less energy than a typical data center. It weighs a lot less, and it costs almost nothing. It's right up here. We all have them. Significantly more powerful. And the reason why I want you to use this is because we've seen some reports this year that says if you don't actively try and use it and all you use is AI, you will lose your ability to be a critical thinker. And we should not lose our ability to be critical thinkers. That's how we stay relevant. It's not whether AI becomes pervasive. It will. It is. It's what we choose to do and how we choose to integrate. Let's look at another paper that came out. Most people won't recognize this paper by name, but they will recognize the media coverage it got. This is the paper that says 95% of all projects never make it from pilot to production. Here's what the data actually showed. What the data actually showed was, that's somewhat true, that only about 5% of the embedded or task-specific models didn't make it to production, but almost 40% of the generally trained ones did. And I'm going to tell you exactly why. So how do we avoid running aground of all of the problems that might exist in AI deployments? Because we don't want to hit the iceberg. Well, we need to build something that's really, really structurally sound. And the way we do that is with 3 things: the right models, the right case, and the right skills. So let's talk about models first. This is a word cloud of all of the subjects that traditional generative general models are trained on. And this is not a fully inclusive list. This is just most of them. Now, if I were to ask a model trained on all of this a simple question, I saw some healthcare folks earlier in the room, so I'm going to ask a healthcare question. Now, what I will get depends upon the context that the model is answering from. Right? Depending upon the hat that the model is wearing, it will give me a different answer. But they're all technically explainable and defensible. They're just wrong, but not from the model's point of view. So I either have to spend a ton of time adjusting the model to only answer it from the context I want, or pick the right model. What a novel idea, going back to the beginning. So that's the models. Now, the second thing is the use case. A lot of businesses don't need an overly complicated capability, but yet we try and over-engineer and overcomplicate what we deliver. I just need a fly swatter. I don't need the complications of a bazooka. Yes, they will both achieve the goal, but one has a far greater cost, and I really just need something simple. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is skills. Now, skills is very important because we've heard a lot of conversations about AI impacting the job market and people getting let go because of AI and then all of a sudden reversing those decisions and bringing people back because of AI. So let's look at the nemesis of skilled coders, and that's no code. Don't like no code. Why don't I like no code? Because if you understand your business, but you don't understand DevOps or AI, and you use no-code tools, you'll get something that might look really pretty, but you still don't want on your business, on your desk. If you understand DevOps, but you don't have AI skills, you are gambling that the no-code system understands what you're asking for enough to give you something that is functional and usable and efficient. But even if you have AI skills and DevOps skills, you are still getting a black box because you cannot see what is happening. You can just see what it's doing. And you have to hope that the internal architecture that it's created is doing what you want the way you want it and will continue to do that for the foreseeable future. So the important thing is to remember you always have to keep the perspective that skills in AI and DevOps and coding are critical for the success of AI. You cannot lean purely on no-code capabilities. So how do we get from Frank's Red Hot AI, put that ish on everything, to actually turning it into the soup base? Well, we did that at IBM, and we did it through this three-method capability using AI and hybrid cloud, governance, testing, and adjustment, because governance and ethics are tremendously important for AI in lots of different ways that I don't have time to go into, but I would love to have that conversation with you separately. And targeted investments in people, in process, in technology, and tools consolidation. And the result was tremendous for us. As a matter of fact, I think we've publicly said that we're looking at close to $4.5 billion of savings over time just based on these consolidations. So what I've left you with, hopefully, is the idea that AI can be really good. But jumping into it without the knowledge, without the understanding of what it is, how it works, how to do it, and without having the staff that understands, as we heard earlier, the human component and the technology component, is going to leave you in a lot of trouble. And here's why. Because bias is not always bad. Governance is not always good, but generative is always going to be chaotic neutral. Now, if you're a D&D player, or you're a gamer, and I see some of you are, you know this reference. For everybody else, chaotic neutral is a character that just does what it was told to do, what it believes is right to do. It doesn't look at values or social norms or consider others. It just does what it's supposed to, and I'm going to give you an example with that, with this. This is a prompt I gave ChatGPT. You are the CIO of an enterprise business that needs enterprise-grade data controls and compliance, customizable AI models for specific needs, and enhanced governance and accountability tools. Do you implement Watson X, ChatGPT, or Microsoft Copilot? I asked ChatGPT. Its response, as a CIO, I would implement IBM Watson X for its extensive, you can read all this, I'm not going to turn this into a commercial, or Microsoft Copilot if they have an extreme Microsoft ecosystem. This is ChatGPT. Doesn't even mention using ChatGPT. This is chaotic neutral. Now, what I will leave you with is to think about this. If you deploy AI in your business and it gives you answers like this, you have three things you can do. You can stop using AI. You can retune the AI to give you answers that you want to hear, because that's what the human thing would do. Or you can listen to it, understand why it said what it said, and maybe even change your business strategy because it's telling you something you didn't know or want to know. And that is what we all have to think about in the future. So I'm going to give you the final disclaimer, because this is something hopefully we will see more and more in the future, that all of this content was done without the use of AI for narrative, flow, or storyline. I just simply used it to create some of my images. But you can connect with me there. That's my LinkedIn profile. I welcome conversations in the future, and I thank you very much for your time.